October 21st, 2019. Google announces they've achieved quantum supremacy, a computer that solved in 200 seconds what would take a supercomputer 10,000 years. 48 hours later, IBM fires back. You're wrong. We can do it in 2.5 days. What happened next wasn't a polite scientific disagreement. It was a declaration of war. And the stakes: control over the most powerful computing technology ever created. This is the quantum battle that's been hidden in plain sight. To understand why two of the world's biggest tech giants went to war over two words, quantum supremacy, you need to know what they were really fighting for. Because this wasn't about being right. It was about who gets to define the future. Google's 53-qubit processor, called Sycamore, performed a calculation in 200 seconds that they estimated would take Summit, the world's fastest supercomputer, approximately 10,000 years. But here's what makes this insane. The task itself was useless. It was essentially generating random numbers using a very specific quantum sampling procedure with no practical applications. Think of it like this. Imagine the Wright brothers' first flight. 12 seconds in the air. Completely impractical. But it proved something that changed everything. Humans could fly. Google's experiment proved quantum computers could do anything faster than classical computers. Physicist Chad Rigetti called it a great scientific achievement, and physicist Greg Kuperberg said it was a big step toward kicking away any plausible argument that making a quantum computer is impossible. The paper was accidentally leaked on NASA's website in September, then officially published in Nature on October 23rd. And that's when IBM declared war. 2 days before Google's official announcement, IBM published a paper claiming that by tweaking the way Summit approaches the task, it could complete the calculation in 2.5 days, not 10,000 years. Their secret weapon? Hard drives. Here's the technical genius. Simulating a quantum computer requires storing vast amounts of data in memory. The less memory available, the more you have to slice up the task into stages, and the longer it takes. IBM's researchers figured out they could use hard drive storage, something Google's estimate didn't account for, to achieve the simulation in just days with far greater fidelity. In their blog post, IBM scientists wrote, "The goal has not been met, and that quantum computers are not supreme against classical computers." But here's where it gets brutal. IBM went further, saying, "We recommend that the term quantum supremacy not be used and sincerely ask the community whether it is time to retire the term." That's not a scientific rebuttal. That's a declaration that Google doesn't get to write history. So what's actually happening here? IBM doesn't just think Google didn't achieve quantum supremacy in this particular instance. They think quantum supremacy is very important. Here's why. Google's philosophy is that there is a single milestone moment, quantum supremacy, where quantum computers definitively beat classical computers. It's binary. You either have it or you don't. IBM's philosophy is that what we should be looking for is on one particular moment of quantum supremacy. We should be continually building better quantum computers and gradually increasing the number of cases where they have an advantage. IBM calls this quantum advantage, a gradually growing number of cases in which quantum computers are a bit faster, fast enough for it to be economically worthwhile. And here's the thing. IBM's philosophy is that what they there to do with quantum computers is to deliver products that will serve customers and help them achieve higher efficiencies. Google wants to prove the impossible. IBM wants to sell solutions. One is chasing glory. The other is chasing profit. Fast forward to December 2024. 5 years after the battle began, Google unveils Willow, a new quantum chip with 105 qubits. And the numbers: it performed a computation in under 5 minutes that would take one of today's fastest supercomputers 10 septillion years. That's 10 to the 25th power. A number that vastly exceeds the age of the universe. 10,000 years became 10 septillion years. That's a double exponential rate of improvement. But here's the kicker. Willow achieves something called below threshold. Quantum error correction, cutting the error rate in half every time they scaled up from 3 by 3 to 5 by 5 to 7 by 7 qubit array. This historic accomplishment had been pursued for almost 30 years. Even IBM had to admit this was different. The quantum computing community, as one Google researcher put it. Breathes a sigh of relief because it shows that quantum error correction indeed can work in practice. So did Google win? Technically, yes. They proved quantum supremacy exists and keeps getting more supreme. But practically, IBM was right, because even with Willow, practical applications for quantum computers are unlikely in the near term. Here's what nobody's telling you. This war isn't about who's right. It's about who controls the definition of progress. Because the moment quantum computers become useful, they don't just change computing. They change everything. Your online banking, every password, every encryption key. Quantum computers could theoretically break modern cryptographic algorithms. Security experts say we're still 5 to 15 years away from that reality. But the clock is ticking. Drug discovery. Google CEO Sundar Pichai said quantum computing could help with drug discovery, fusion, energy battery design. He specifically mentioned the Haber process for fertilizers, which produces 2% of global carbon emissions, could be revolutionized. The company that defines what quantum supremacy means gets to write the rules for this new world. And right now, that battle is still being fought. In 2019, Google said they achieved quantum supremacy. IBM said they didn't. In 2024, Google came back with Wheelaton's septillion years of computational advantage. As quantum physicist Simon DeVitt put it, it's obviously a pissing contest. But here is the thing about pissing contests between tech giants. The rest of us are standing in the splash zone, and the weapon they're building, it's either going to save the world or break it. The quantum war isn't over. It's just getting started, and you're living in the middle of it, whether you know it or not. If this changed how you see the tech industry, hit subscribe. Because the next breakthrough, it might break your bank account,